Hello everyone, Blue Star Saber here once again to do another One Piece chapter review. Chapter 1183, Good Morn Maid. Let's see, I don't know why it's titled that, but yeah, this chapter is basically the follow-up of the other chapter, which I'm also a bit behind on. Let's see, the 1883rd chapter of One Piece, in which this one follows the events where Loki continues his battle against Imu, where Imu describes Nihog as a traitor and is very familiar with Ragnar Loki's squirrel, if you will. So we got a little bit of that. Robin was able to find where the Al Biblo stored all of the Arhar books. Summers and Killingham making moves to try and kidnap the children again, with Killingham something like what he fears the most, the rain gods or goddess Zazu, if you will. Well, the other Straw Hats are giants, and the Straw Hats are all Chopper's taking care of the other giants and all that stuff, and all the other Straw Hats are trying to do their best to save the citizens. Though granted, I might not see the other Straw Hats until this chapter, but yeah, basically Zoro and Sanji's matches are being set up while Loki and Imu continues theirs, while Robin is looking at trying to find take care of the books from Arhar, as Saul questions Biblo who he actually is. So yeah, you've got that little mystery there going on, if you will. Possibly is he from the Void Century? But yeah, stuff like that. Anyway, how will this chapter continue? Will we get Zoro fighting Summers? Will we get Sanji fighting Killingham? Or maybe the goddess Zazu? Though granted, the biggest thing is, since Zazu seems to be a goddess, and since Sanji has a no-hit woman thing, will this apply to this kind of fight thing? But we'll have to wait and see. Or will we learn some other, or we get an update of the other Straw Hats. But before that, we've got, of course, the cover page where we see Luffy and the rest of the Straw Hats, riding off the splattered water of a bunch of pink elephants, if you will, far from the island where the Thousand Sunny is. Luffy, of course, doing his iconic jumping pose, which I think is similar to the Gear 5 pose when you first went there. But the other Straw Hats either just jumping in air, playing music, reading books, or doing thumbs up, that kind of thing, or just sitting cool, soul drinking, Sanji trying to surf Robin, Usopp trying to hold on to an elephant, Frankie going the super pose, Jinbei just crossing arms smiling, and Nami just pointing up in the sky, if you will. So yeah, arguably just a nice double page spread of the Straw Hats, just having fun with an elephant, if you will. Arguably not the most special cover, but I'm curious to see if my mom would find this enjoying, since she loves elephants. But yeah, anyway, I've gone on long enough about this. On to the actual chapter, if you will. So the chapter basically begins with Imu once again talking to Ragnar about how you waited for one that could strike against Imu, saying if that's right, with Loki just going in his dragon form, what nonsense you're talking about, saying he's never seen someone absorb so much damage, as Imu, interesting, finally calls Loki and Luffy by their actual names, Luffy and Straw Hat Luffy, and saying that if they will not be his soldiers, he shall eliminate them instead. So it looks like they are not going to be dummy reversed, at all. So Imu prepares a move called Just Like Dozen. Referencing someone else from the past that we do not know. And as Loki's preparing a move called Ragnar Dull Heim, Imu counters with the blade of the Wrath Gram, if you will. And as Loki shoots, Imu seems to spin his blade, clashing with a powerful attack. Anyway, we are cut to the Western Village, if you will, where Some of the giants are trying to say, take back the children against the rain god Zazu, as we see the kids, Ritzy, flowing through like the stream arms, if you will, of the goddess. See, nightmare creature. Sort of raising the stakes because they could possibly drown. Ritzy, as one of the giant mums says, we're not letting them be taken away, with Ripley leading, saying, after all we did to save them. You see Angie and Omi also there, saying that they're not going to take their kids. With Ripley, with Chopper saying, wait, you guys, you should be moving at all, saying that you haven't finished your blood transfusions, you could die from the injuries. With Ripley saying that their life means nothing to him if it's like, if her son is ripped from her arms. And we see the bunch of the giants some of them being pushed, grabbed, if you will, attacked by water as they're trying to attack with arrows and swords and all kinds of things as the kids cry out for help. With Killingham going like, only 7 of them will have to do, as he implying that only 7 of the kids got kidnapped, telling Zaza to let's go, with Sanji saying, what's happening over there, as he's just arrived to the goddess. We'll have to, before we can find out whether or not he recognizes that as a, let's see, woman. Let's see, we cut to like ice, where we see that Gunko is still basically frozen in it, and then Emo's attack did nothing, so it shows to show you that, yeah, Ragnar's attack can only be broken by Ragnar himself. So I'll be very curious to see how what will happen now, because now Emu cannot, let's see, seems to like dummy reverse Loki, so he can't command Ragnar to like destroy the glass. So I'm curious to see how Gunko is going to probably get out after that, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's see. Brooke ends up being asked a question by Usopp, why did you run off to fight that woman? And saying they had to jump in after you because it seemed like there was something wrong. With Nami asking her, did you know her? And saying, was she some enemy you fought against in the past? As we see Brooke lying unconscious, with Usopp saying, not an enemy, but a person that he never wanted to see. Or so he thought, but he's currently confused, telling them that if it really is her, she should be 77 years old by now. With Nami trying to think, like, it's got to mean it's someone else, right? I mean, she's a celestial dragon. And Usopp says, yes, at the time, she was the princess of my homeland and lost contact with her when she traveled to Sacred Majora, where it surprised Usopp from those words. And then we let's see see some of the other Straw Hats. Frankie running to saying like confirming to her that the chick is still frozen. Can't tell if she's alive or dead. Let's see, saying if they can just leave her there or not. But Brooke saying what you're saying is she's a celestial dragon who looks like someone that she. Let's see, someone that you once knew. Though, wait, hold on. Wait, it is Brock is saying that. It might be just Viz's translations. What I'm saying is she's a celestial dragon who looks like someone you knew. Doesn't, let's see. Oh, yeah. No, wait. Usopp is my mistake. It's Usopp saying that. Despite the fact that she looks like someone you knew, the celestial dragon did attack Elbaf. But Brock is then thinking like, when we were tied up earlier, she's the one that undid the ropes, as we get a flashback of that with Usopp thinking it was his mental powers. And then Brock is just questioning, why would you do such a thing, as remembering her saying, run, Brooke. As he goes like, how does she know who I am? Then talks like she turned back into that demonic form again, and goes like her original personality and that personality that saved us in her demonic form. It says it's like he sees 3 different people in her. With Nami thinks it's possible that she's being controlled, if you will. And Brock said it did occur to him, but after seeing people turn into demons today, he must admit he's disturbed to his core. But Jinbei says, I hate to rush you, Brooke, but do you need a decision? Does she live or die? We can't do anything before that's settled, which is a bit surprising that Jinbei would say something like that. I'm not going to lie. So and that Reti added a bunch of discussions because he has never suggested that before, nor has he ever killed in the past. But now it's suggesting this to a celestial dragon. But Brooke goes like, starts talking to them and saying, a long time ago, she was just a child and he was a young man. It was a country that no longer exists, calling it Asperia, revealing it to be a land of music, crafting instruments of all kinds. And then we cut to a flashback, let's see, 70 years ago, if you will, where, hold on, let me just, share this tab instead. We cut to like this kingdom of West Blue to let's see about 70 years ago at 4 a.m. in the morning, where someone is singing, if you will, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wake up, let's see, Brock is singing Wake Up, Crack and Dawn of All's Good Morn Maid, which is arguably the name of the title. Talk about a brand new world, saying that there's many seas that can't be surveyed, but all needs a good morning. Saying, and he's saying good morning to the kingdom, for talking about, singing about some winds. And you see some citizens complaining, saying, "Shut, I got a hangover." As he says, it's time to set sail. How are you doing in the back streets? People are saying, be quiet. A kid is just smiling, saying, good morning, Brooke. Retia's Brooke is singing about pork and hey, Arena. And going like, oh, how I wish to see a sexy mermaid someday, which is the words and the lyrics, but you've got people telling him to shut up. But also people going like, Brooke, my fave. There's some saying, hope you get fired from the battle convoy. As he just singing more about his soul and call me a bad end maid. As another person's asking his brother to get him his gun. As the narration goes, this is the land of instrument makers, Asperia. And we cut to the palace. We're saying, let's see, where Brock is being admired by a bunch of captains, telling us how to do asking him to do the quick draw technique. And it's saying it's not fair that Princess Shira gets his attention, if you will. As someone says, this is pathetic. What do you think I'm teaching you now? Learn the fundamentals before you dream. As Brock is ignoring them. As Brock is singing about, let's see, what food they're going to have. And then starts to sing sake, if you will. And then we see a... oops, wrong one. A young Brooke and a young Gunko at the age of 20 and 7 respectively, as he's, singing up the Binks brew, if you will, the sake song, as Gunko is also singing along, as they're just walking together, if you will. As Gunko, we see Brock as, let's see, for the first time, his pupils, which we've never seen before since he usually wore sunglasses when we saw him in the Laboon flashback, and of course he has no eyes as a skeleton now. But yeah, we basically see a young version of him, which I think some people have compared to Michael Jackson, which makes me wonder if Oda has recently seen the Michael Jackson movie, but who knows? It could be like this is what Oda was planning all along, but we'll have to wait and see, because yeah. But Gunko's talking about how she's worked hard today and thinks she's going to be stronger like her mother, with Brock being like, oh yes, Her Majesty is very powerful. Queen Gown, the light of her life, with Gunko telling him not to fall in love with a married woman, Brock. As he goes like, what do you mean? Love is free. And this is where we end up meeting the king that Brooke has a debt to, saying that he sentences him to death for conspiracy, as we learn that he's the king of Revna. With Brock going like, no, that is too harsh. Please, boss, Your Majesty. As Gunko is just excited to see her father, saying, you were planning to kill me, weren't you? But he's going like, of course not. Don't even suggest it. I'm waiting until your death takes you. Saying, I wait until your death takes you, saying that while he loves the king's wife, he would rather wait the natural thing of her becoming a widow first. But Gunko ends up saying, come on, Brooke, forget about her mother, and saying that when she grows up, she'll marry him instead. And let's see. This gets the king going like, no, Shuri, you're supposed to say goofy stuff like that to me. You melt my heart. Upset that she would say that to Brooke, but Brooke is like, oh no, thanks. I prefer a wife without a runny nose. And the king starts kicking him, getting mad, saying, what a picky oaf, saying, how dare you turn down my daughter right in front of me. Let's see. I have Brooke going like, I'm nothing if not faithful. And Gunko is just, or Princess Shuri, if you will, just laughing about it. As a member of the Royal Guard ends up trying to interrupt, saying that apparently the gang on the horseback riding city full of port. Some of the better convoy of town is fighting them, but they're unnumbered. But they're going to send more from the castle, but they don't think they'll make it in time, revealing they're being attacked by gangsters. And this causes a bit of panic, and they've apparently been shouting. Someone feels that they've been shouting for Queen Kando, who's enjoying an opera in town. Let's see, wondering if this is the Moran family, and realizing that they've been after her for years. Let's see, wondering how they landed on port. Let's see, telling them someone asking for Kando to go to port tell her to not leave the opera. But and also, unfortunately for them, the opera's snail is turned off. Gunko asks Brooke to do something about her mother, but Brooks reveals that, okay, the rogues, did you say? Saying it's odd that he saw in port earlier, as they're causing chaos in the street. Citizens are panicking. We cut to the opera house where Gunko's mother is listening, thinking like it's a beautiful performance. The gangsters will like come out, Kando, saying that we'll shoot you if you don't from Don Milan if you don't, which I think might be the mafia boss that eventually joins the Rock's pirate crew. I might be mistaken. As they're going to try and settle this once and for all. Let's see. As one of the guards gets shot by the gangster, with the king saying, "Hey, Brooke, help!" But Brooke says it's fine. She's a very strong, and she can take it, and they can't take her away. But as you can see, the worried looks on like the king in Gunko's face, saying that he's rather stunned that they haven't noticed it yet since they left the port. And Brooke says he's already cut them all in that sort of like sort of badass line, if you will, of let's see, that badass line, if you will. So that he always does whenever he ends up fighting opponents, like Zaru, if you will. So let's see. Let me just see. As we see that, and then we see, of course, the panel of like all the gangsters being cut to slices, if you will. Let's see. People like confused and wait. Let's see. These things were already cut, and they realize that it was Captain Brock's quick draw. They all celebrate, going like the free pace, hum, notch, slash. Oh, as they're like, you got like people like saying, "Yay for Brooke, he's so dashing," but you got a bunch of female citizens going like, what a beauty, she's a beauty. As the narration goes, 70 years ago, the Kingdom of Speria harbored two great stars. One of them, of course, Brooke, and the other is, let's see, Queen Kandel, if you will, saying that one is the former captain of the battle convoy, the current Queen Kandel. The other, an unpopular musician, but a master of the quick draws technique. As she talks about what a scene to come out here, as the narration says that left victims unaware that they've been slashed. The leader of the raider squad, humming Brooke, as we get the narration of Kingdom of Aspara's Queen Kandel. As narration says, in this era, the kingdom was at peace, implying that at some point, of course, the peace won't last, as we know. Apparently, Princess Shuri would end up killing her father, and Brooke would never try to speak her name again until today. ending the sort of like chapter, if you will. So yeah, that was basically the chapter. So yeah, overall thoughts. I do like how basically with Loki, it seems like Oda for the last few chapters is like having Loki's fight with Emu always be at the beginning. Now, granted, it's a bit more talking this time than last time, but at least doing a clash, so it's Oda's at least reminding us that this fight is in the background at the very least, even if it's not 100% focus on like it was a couple of chapters ago. But it is interesting that Emu talks that Ragnar is waiting for Emu is talking that Ragnar was apparently waiting for someone strong enough that he believes that can fight Emu, and arguably Loki is doing a pretty good job, even though he is technically wounded. Though it seems like Emu is also sort of limited to what he can do, as well as he only has a limited time here. Though Loki has no idea what's going on. I'm very curious to see how Loki will react when he learns that Emu is a being that's been around for 800 years, and how he will try and deal with someone like that. But it is interesting that for once that Emu actually ends up calling both Loki and Luffy by their actual names, because he's always been referring them to their devil fruit, or the ones who wielded the devil fruits back in the past, as Emu is usually just called Loki Nidhogg, and of course Luffy Joy Boy, if you will. But no, he's now actually calling them their real names. So it seems that Emu is able to like distinguish between the two, though arguably he did before with Rocks, though he's sometimes mistaken him for Davy. But it seems like Emu at the moment seems to calm down and seemingly referring to them by their actual names. I'm not sure if this is like, if he's angry, he just refers to them by the names of the devil fruits or like previous users, or is this just one-time thing? But yeah, but it is interesting to learn. Apparently, Emu cannot end up controlling, let's see, Loki and Luffy with Dami Reverse, so he's just going to try and kill them. So yeah, it seems like this has debunked any of the theories that Loki's going to get Dami Reverse, and then everyone is going to have to try and fight him to stop him, if you will. But no, it doesn't seem like that's actually happening. And of course, they're continuing to fight, if you will, which arguably it's a pretty cool panel of them axe fighting. But it also, we get a bit of a lore drop here of Loki, of Emu talking about someone like Dozen who would not obey. Now, who Dozen is, some have theorized that that's the name of the Ragnar, of the like Nidhogg previous user, though I'm pretty certain he should probably be named Elbaf, since the country is named after the war gods. So yeah, unless it's like, of course, Dozen Elbaf or Elbaf Dozen, I'm not sure. Granted, some have theorized that this is the will of D, but I don't think that Dozen is going to be the will of D. Let's see, though. It would be interesting to see Monkey, Dozen, Luffy. I'm not sure that would actually work, but I think it might be more likely to the Dawn, but we'll have to wait and see. Though, granted, it could be some word we haven't heard. Or some have theorized that this is the name of the Earth God, as arguably we've got, with Luffy being the Sun God. Right, so we know that there's a Rain God that could potentially be either someone like Dragon or Vivi. Let's see, Chopper likely to be the Forest God. Let's see, the Earth God is the only one that we don't really know much details about. Now, some theorize that Blackbeard is actually the Earth God, because the Quake fruit is actually the Earth God fruit, though we'll have to wait and see if that theory is true, though it would arguably make sense, though Paramecius would then, of course, lost the one fruit that, let's see, allowed them to rival the other powerful devil fruits, if you will, but I guess that means only Law's devil fruit is like the strongest Paramecia, if that ends up being the case. So yeah, we have that. But that kind of clash thing. So I do like that. Also, I do like how the Giants are trying their best to try and save their kids, especially after everything they've gone through. And I do like how Chopper's pointing out, like, heck, you're not in any shape and fit to do so, but they're still willing to do so because they want to help their kids, even if it costs them their lives, and they're willing to fight. Now, granted, given how this is One Piece, I doubt any of them are going to die, but it is showing. But I do like the resolve they're showing from this fight. Granted, only 7 of them are like taken hostage this time from like the previous 10, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Sanji is like just near the scene or not. Granted, I'm not sure if we have to wait and see if Sanji is going to end up fighting Zazu, if you will, because arguably he's arguably stronger than killing him, though. As we saw a few chapters back ago, him and Jinbei and Frankie defeated him off screen, if you will. So let's see. It doesn't seem like killing him is much of a fighter against Sanji. So it might be that this god, Dream Monster, would fight him. But granted, since it's a rain goddess, Sanji might, due to his code, refuse to fight a woman, given the fact that he does not want to disappoint Zeref by ever laying a hand on one in physical violence, if you will, which on one hand it could possibly that Sanji finally overcomes that to some extent, or at least wants to help. He does it for the sake of the children, though given Oda's determination for this character trait of Sanji, I don't think that's going to be likely. Well, granted, given the fact that Chopper is here and he might be the forest god, it could be possible that Chopper fights this dream monster and ends up awakening his fruit to become the proper forest god, if that's the case. So that could end up happening, but I am not completely convinced that will be the case. So, we'll admit. Let's see. People have been wondering about Gunko, whether or not when Inu first fired the fire blast at the ice thing, and whether or not it actually destroyed it, but turns out it didn't. So, yeah. So Ragnar is as strong as ice is as strong as people say, that not even Inu's own devil powers can seemingly break it. So, yeah. I'm curious to see how Gunko will be broken free, if you will, because she is going to get freed. Let's see. Given the fact that she's got some stuff to do with Brook, if you will. Now, whether or not by Ragnar willingly or forcibly, or I know something else happens that removes Gunko from there, because I do know the other God's Knights mentioned that, she's seems likely dead, but not showing a sign of caring for her in the last chapter, but she is going to probably break out and arguably deal with this sort of drama she has with Brook. But we don't know if it's going to be Ragnar reluctantly doing it, or Loki commanding it, or I don't know, maybe even an accident. We'll have to wait and see. But who knows? But the more interesting aspect of this is that we're getting, of course, Brook talking about Gunko to the other Straw Hats. Arguably, we're getting more questions from Usopp, since he went to go help Brook fight her, and I'm wondering that even though we're getting a bit of a focus on Brook right now, the fact that Usopp is the one mostly asking questions, though sometimes you've got Nami asking them as well, means that Brook, when whatever's going to happen with Gunko, he's going to get assisted by Usopp, because it could be that Gunko still is under the influence of Imu, and as a result, we'll end up attacking Brook, and as a result, it might be that both Brook and Usopp team up to try and stop, if you will. Granted, maybe the other Straw Hats will get involved, but it could be that Brook and Usopp are the center stage here, because arguably people are still hoping that Usopp gets something in this arc. I mean, he's gotten a few things, but it's arguably not the development we were all expecting, or lack of development, if you will. But nevertheless, I do like that he's talking to Brook, and I do like how the other Straw Hats are asking about Gunko's relationship with Brook, and it's is it just someone that coincidentally looks like her? But I do like how Brook brings up his past, that someone he never really wanted to speak of again, but given the events of today, realizes that okay, people can be controlled, so that might mean that was she possibly controlled, giving him to think maybe Gunko didn't really actually want to kill her own father, because if that's the case, and we know that there's some more to the tragic flashback in her PTSD thing, thinking about like how her own father died. So yeah, arguably, let's see, we've got like quite the interesting discussions here. Though I will admit, it's a bit surprising that Jinbei, let's see, talk about whether or not to kill her, let's see, Gunko or not, asking Brock what do we decide and all that stuff, which some felt that was a bit out of character for Jinbei, and I'll admit it's a bit weird because he's never suggested killing someone before, but I suppose the God's Knights are that dangerous that he sees no other way other than to try and find a way of killing them if they're such a threat. And I do like how Usopp points out that he does to try to attack Elbaf, even though Brock points out there's her that freed them from those owl traps, and that there seems to be three personalities, which, to be fair, is the Princess Shuri one that Brock's familiar with, the Gunko that we saw before Emu possessed, and of course the Emu possessed Gunko. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that is dealt. But yeah, let's see. The Straw Hats are beginning. I like how the Straw Hats discussing what to do with Gunko's situation. Anyway, I'm sort of glad that we now got to like I will admit it's a bit interesting that Oda has decided to bring like the flashback of Brook now, if you will, which people thought like, oh, let's see, Oda's about to have like Sanji and Sora versus their respective God's Knights, and Emu and Ritzy is currently fighting Loki, which we did get to see, but now it seems like we're getting another flashback interrupting, which arguably for some are questioning this, but I do like how Mr. Morge points out that given Oda's track record for the last few arcs about just when it looks like the action is about to begin, he comes with a flashback, and after experiencing that flashback, it gets us more emotionally invested in like what's going on currently. For example, when Saturn first arrived and Bonnie attacked him, and looked like so we then got that like Kuma backstory, and we then saw the context of what Saint Saturn did to Kuma and his family, if you will. And when we finally got back to like, of course, the present day, we got that iconic punch of Kuma saving Bonnie and beating the living daylights out of Saturn. So who knows? It's possible that Oda, with this Brook flashback, is building up whatever conflict that he's going to end up having with Gunko. Granted, how long this flashback is, who's to say? At most, I think it'd be 6 chapters. I don't think we're going to get 20 unless Elbaf is going to be a much longer arc than we all anticipated. But yeah, I mean, some are still believing that it might end around the like 1,200th chapter, if you will, give or take. Though I wouldn't be surprised if it just goes up maybe like an extra 10 or 15 chapters, depending on how the pacing of the like all the fights and all that stuff is going to go, as well as like this flashback, as well as the aftermath. But we'll have to wait and see in that regards. But yeah, but it's interesting to see Brook's kingdom and to learn that despite singing being his thing, he's not exactly the most popular singer. But no, granted, it might just be because of the time of day he ends up singing like 4 a.m. I don't think anyone wants to hear someone singing at that time, except maybe young kids who get excited. So there's that. Though it is interesting how the place he's dancing and singing to, he's doing sort of like Nico pose, as some people are theorizing, if you will. So yeah, but he seems to be greatly admired by many of the guards and young children at the very least, even if might be more for like the guards' swordsman style. And we do and we finally get to see like that sort of close relationship that Brook had with Gunko, if you will. She's just happy and all that stuff, singing together. Let's see, arguably it looks very similar to like how when Brook talked about how he wants to be a pirate one day, age, if you will. And we see that even before Gunko became a God's Knight, her mixed match eyes are still like still a thing, and it's not due to some sort of influence by the Emu's control, if you will. So, but yeah. But it's interesting to see how much that Shuri seems to admire Brook, though Brook actually seems to have feelings for her mother, the Queen herself, and we end up, of course, as a result, seeing what the king that Brook owes everything to is. Reverend, who is not what you would describe as your standard-looking good king, if you will. So usually, arguably, maybe muscular, but also maybe some sort of a handsome individual that seems wise. But yeah, he seems like a grumpy old man who gets mad, like, "Oh, you're trying to upset me, Brock," with him going like, "No, no, no. If I want to marry your wife, I'm going to wait until you die natural death, if you will." Saying that any other option like that is not what he's going to do, if you will. But I do like how we got like a little cute scene of like us what I think you sometimes see in Japanese media. I see if like them thinking back about when they're like kids, particularly fathers with their daughters, when their daughters really wants to marry their father when they were young, not understanding the full contents of marriage. But yeah, granted, I think some people took this a bit too extreme, given some of the allegations that aimed at Oda with given his friendship and the fact he was mentored under like the Ryujin Kenshin mangaka who is now disgraced, but I don't think I don't think it's anything sinister like that. I think given how arguably given modern times, I can see how stuff like this doesn't really age well and doesn't really like feel good. But I think this is just at the moment Oda just portraying a child who really admires Brook as a sort of like and thinking of like not fully understanding the concept of marriage, at least at this kid age. Now, granted, of course, Brook is like I don't let's see like I don't like snot-nosed kids finding an excuse to reject her, if you will. Though it does get a funny response from the king, who's like up at let's see further against Brook trying to marry his wife, but now seems to get angry that Brook is rejecting his daughter. Now, arguably, given the fact that this is apparently the man Brook is indebted to, they arguably probably get along, despite the fact that Brook has a thing for his wife. I don't think he's necessarily wanting Brook to marry his daughter, given the age gap, though granted. Let's see, I can't really talk too much because, like, my grandparents had quite some age gaps, if you will, but I think Brook is more of like treating Gunko as like a young daughter / niece, if you will, given the fact that he's in loyalty to the king, if you will, and was actually fond of her, but not in that kind of way. No, I do like Brook is like Gunko's just laughing at the silly antics of her father and Brook, if you will. Of course, there's all like that chaos with gangsters coming in. Let's see, I think Don Marlowe, I think the Rocks Pirates one was mentioned here, so this is arguably before the God. Let's see, God earlier, and also, of course, the fact that Rocks recruited this mafia guy into his crew, but I could be wrong. I need to recheck on the names, but yeah, it was kind of nice seeing all this again. Kind of nice seeing, well, not nice seeing this, but interesting seeing how these gangsters are causing chaos, and arguably, since Dom, let's see, Beige is like from this part of the West Blue, it makes sense that we'll get mafias coming here and fighting, if you will. And I do like how, let's see, Brook is so relied upon to try and let's see, deal with like this these gangsters who are trying to, let's see, threaten the queen and all that stuff. Though granted, it's too far away. And I do like how Brook, in a sort of iconic way, like, that's odd. I met these guys before earlier, but he's already cut them. So it's like where you see it as like his like iconic line of "I've already cut you," if you will, walking past and then doing it. And it seems like we get a bit of a scalar here where he's able to do that far away. Now, granted, I have seen a lot of people going like, "Oh, is Brook secretly strong? Is he like a Yonko commander and stuff?" But no, I don't think that's the case, and I think it's just more of like just the fact that it just might be that Brook has got a bit, when he was alive, got a bit more, might have had a bit more agile with like let's see, his cutting skills. Now, granted, we don't know if Brook is weaker when he was alive or not, but I do not think that even if he was in some way stronger as alive when he was a swordsman or something, let's see, he is, I doubt he is as strong as he currently is now in the current time present, and I definitely do not think that he's probably some like really strong young Commander level character at least, but no, I don't think that's the role Brock's gonna have, but yeah. But it is also interesting that we are also meeting Gunko's mother, Canadella, and she's apparently so beautiful. Some are treating her like she's Boa Hancock, if you will. So, yeah, and arguably, Oda has not used the same Nami clone design with this character, at least in terms of the face features. But that's a topic for another day, really. But yeah, she's in a military uniform. She looks pretty impressive. I do like how we got a trait of her. Apparently, she likes opera. And apparently, she's one of the 2 stars where she was actually the former captain of the guards, like Brock is currently now, but she's now the queen and all that stuff. And apparently, her and Brock are the 2 stars. Her for her beauty and her previous skill, and Brook, well, divided on opinions on like his music, is regarded quite well for his swordsmanship style. So yeah, arguably, this kingdom seems to have 2 stars that could protect them. But of course, the peace does not last, as this is a flashback, and tragedy always ends up happening in these flashbacks, if you will. But it's also interesting how many people take notice of like Kando's uniform and wonder if she might secretly be a God's Knight, given how the fact that Gunko joined the Myanmar family, if you will. Now, granted, this could maybe happen by marriage, but usually marriage for a Celestial Dragon normally doesn't seem to end well, and usually they seem to mostly be ending up as slaves, but I could be wrong there. But who knows? Now, granted, well, let's see. If she does turn out to be God's Knight, it'll be interesting to see if she ends up, is she one that betrayed Imu for love, or one that sort of like infiltrated this kingdom, ready to take out this king and maybe take its heir or something. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see, but it could be that if it is a tragedy, she could be forced to watch like her daughter kill the father, but we'll have to wait and see what Oda wants to do with this God's Knight. For if she is a God's Knight, I would be curious if she turns out to be the God's Knight, could she be like the one marked by flames that everyone is searching for? Since we still have apparently one missing Holy Knight. No, granted, the rotation might have changed quite a fair share bit after the God Valley incident, but we don't know. But yeah, overall, I'd give this chapter like a 7.5 to 8 out of 10, while Loki versus Imusu, more for just being the beginning of the fight, just a bit of conversation and a bit of the lore of this man named Dozan, but we get more of like some of the other stuff, like let's see, the Giants like Killingham's battle against the Giants is starting. Sanji's arriving. We'll see what he's going to do when he counters the rain goddess. Brook, Gunko still frozen ice, and Brook talking with Usopp and the other Straw Hats, his past with Gunko, and they're discussing what to do with her. Is she like, do they save her? Do they kill her? And of course, finally getting to see Brock's backstory, which arguably has done quite a lot for her, the character, because like he's just a recurring side character rather than a main character, if you will, given how Brooks is only really 2 big arcs that he got any sort of long-term focus on was Philip Rock and, of course, Whole Cake Island, given how he ended up being the sort of main NPV there, stealing the poneglyphs and fighting Big Mom. Well, granted, I do think he did get some roles in Wano and Fishman, but and to some extent Punk Hazard, but it wasn't like this kind of level of focus. And arguably, we're getting a bit more of his character. That I can see why some people are starting to like Brook now. Though I'd say for Usopp fans, don't worry just yet. There still might be stuff that Usopp does to help him. But yeah, arguably good chapter for the most part. And we're entering like the second flashback of Elbaf, if you will. So yeah, well, that's all my thoughts. I hope for those who end up listening to this review, enjoy what I have to say, and I will see you next time. For now, I am Blue Star Saber signing off. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.